Welcome back to the 1444th Modesto City Schools Board meeting held on May 4th, 2020. We've just reported out from closed session and there is nothing to report from closed session. We will do our roll call for the board members so they can say they are here. So we're going to start with Trustee Brown.
I am here.
Okay, Trustee Irvin.
Present.
Trustee Lopez.
Present.
Trustee Newman.
Here.
Trustee Walker.
Here.
Vice President West.
Here.
Student Representative Arnav. Are you there, Arnav? We hope you will be joining us shortly. Does anybody know is Arnav?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't see him here.
Could someone contact him and see? And then I'm Cindy Marks and I am here. So I'm going to go through our translator services. I'd like to refer anybody who needs translator services to Ms. Paula Valbuena, who is on this virtual conference. Ms. Valbuena, will you please go ahead with your announcement in Spanish?
Certainly will. Buenas tardes. Habla Paula Valbuena. Si necesita servicio de interpretación al español, por favor marque al 1805-324-7680 e ingrese el código de acceso 442-410-737, seguido de la tecla numeral. Es un número totalmente gratis. Una vez más, puedes llamar al 1805-424-7680 ingresando el código 442-410-737 seguido de la tecla numeral. Igualmente puede acceder por medio de nuestra página web mcs4kids.com dirigiéndose al final de la página debajo de Quick Links y haciendo clic en Board Agendas para escuchar la junta de hoy. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Valbuena. We appreciate that, and I thank you for the phone service so that we can do that, and thank you for suggesting it to Adolfo Lopez last week. So I appreciate that. And now we will move on to our moment of silence. And at this time, I'd just like you to take a moment to remember all those families and friends that have lost a loved one recently and are struggling during this time, and all those who are having a hard time with their job security. Thank you all. Good evening, everyone. This open session meeting of the Board of Trustees is being live streamed at the direction of the board. The live stream is available on the district's website and the recordings will be available for viewing the day after the board meeting. Modesto City School board meetings are closed to the public to follow state guidelines on social distancing until further notice. This action was taken in response to the governor's executive order N2520 and Resolution 19/20-17 delegating authority to take necessary action to protect students and staff from the spread of the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, adopted by Modesto City Schools on March 18, 2020. Regarding public comment, Modesto City Schools has provided an opportunity for the public to provide comment. It's outlined on the agenda. The public has been given an opportunity to call in and leave a voicemail or send us a comment via email address. This practice will continue throughout the time we are conducting virtual meetings. For members of the public that are interested in commenting in the future, we welcome your comments. And now, tonight, for our Pledge of Allegiance, we are thrilled to show you a virtual Pledge of Allegiance led by our students from Burbank Elementary. Please welcome Principal Kristen Pano. I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but I guess she's going to say it too, I hope. And students from Mr. Arnold's 6th grade class and traditional kindergarten students in Mrs. Smith's and Ms. Borba's classes. This video was created by Mrs. Farnon a computer literacy teacher at Burbank Elementary, and her son Nolan Farnon, who is an 8th grade student at Roosevelt Junior High. Kristen Noonan and our staff are going to be sharing the video. So let's transition to the video right now. So we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, President Marks, Dr. Noguchi, and MCS board members.
Oops, technical difficulties.
Good evening, President Marks, Dr. Noguchi, and MCS board members. This is Kristen Panu, the principal at Burbank Elementary School. I'm bringing you tonight our virtual Pledge of Allegiance, which is a collaborative effort between my CLT, Linda Farnon, her son, who attends Roosevelt Junior High, Nolan Farnon, our 6th grade students in Mr. Arnold's class, and our transitional kindergarten students from Miss Smith and Miss Forbes' class. We've really been working on a collaborative effort at Burbank, being bold, accepting, responsible, kind, perseverance, respectful, organized, upstander, and determination. And all of these students that are in this video have really been working hard at that. So I hope you enjoy and have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Burbank.
Bulldogs. My name is Daniela Ramos, and I am the president of Burbank Elementary School. May you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right hand
Over your heart.
Ready?
Begin. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
United States
Of America.
and to the republic for which
it stands.
one nation.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bulldogs. Pride. Like. Proud. Upstander. Perseverance. Accepting. Responsible. Thank. Bold. Respectful. Internet.
Oh, okay.
That's the next video. That's not the pledge. There you go.
All right. Awesome. That was so fun. It was so great to see those lovely little faces again. We miss you all. It's usually we have a whole bunch of you here in the boardroom, and tonight it was great to see videos of all of the students from, or many students from Burbank Elementary School. So thank you to our teacher, Kristen, Principal Kristen, for making that available to us and for our staff. And now we move on to A5, the Superintendent Noguchi's welcome and announcements. Superintendent Noguchi.
Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate that. That was a wonderful video. Krista, thank you for helping to organize that. It's great to see students' faces, and it's great to see all your faces as well. You know, working from home, we don't get the opportunity to see all the friendly faces, so that was great. So thank you, President Marks. I want to take just a short time and take this opportunity to thank both our students and our parents for, one, the emails that they're sending. In the last couple weeks, I've probably received a half a dozen that have just expressed their appreciation for the work that the district is doing. But all of the emails have a theme that's in common, and that is they really desire to go back to school and to be in a traditional setting. And I have to say, we all desire that as well. We would love to be back at the dais and back in the boardroom, and we know in the future that we will get there. While we don't know what the future holds, we do know that we will start school August 10th. The question will be, how is it that we're starting school? We are currently planning a couple different ways of opening school. Obviously, we are hoping and planning for a traditional setting, but in case the social distancing measures are not lifted, we are continuing to work and plan for a distance learning model, an independent study model, and also a hybrid. And we'll have more information as we move forward, because we're at the very beginning stages of working with teachers and staff and CSCA on that. Earlier today, a message went out that stated that we are beginning to work on virtual graduations for seniors and for 8th graders. And for many of you, I know that was kind of took the wind out of your sails. It's not what we want to hear, it's not what we want to do, and it's not what we want to do. But we recognize this is our current reality, and we need to make sure we have time this year to celebrate our seniors and our 8th graders and really hold them in regard with respect to the work that they've done. This does not mean that we have lost hope for in-person graduations. If social distancing restrictions are lifted in the next couple months, we give you our assurance that we work hard in putting graduations forward for our parents and our families and our communities, but we do need to move forward, unfortunately, with the virtual graduations. Although I'm very excited at the format. I saw some models and some examples, and it was very exciting, and I think that folks will be happy with the end result given the context that we currently are in. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to President Marks.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments and giving an update on what we're doing and how things are moving forward even in this difficult time. And now we are moving on to item A6, our board reports and comments from board members. We'll start with Trustee Brown.
I don't have any meetings to report, but I did get a chance to view Dr. Noguchi with County Superintendent Scott Kuykendall and County Supervisor Kristen Olson talking about the current conditions and how education is affected by all that's happening all around us. I was very pleased with that presentation and really thank Dr. Noguchi for representing the district so well. Also wanted to just call out all the great Instagram posts that we see from all the schools and really appreciate the opportunity to stay connected with our staff, with our kids, and see what's happening with learning. So I appreciate all that and know that the public is grateful for that as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Brown. Trustee Irvin.
No report.
All right. Trustee Lopez.
No reports, just as last time, I just want to thank everyone for doing their part in this world that we're living in right now and this society that we're living in right now. And I just urge folks, as we saw the governor talk today about the next phase we're going to be into, if possible, stay home, stay safe. We want to be with you guys soon, but we got to stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Lopez. Trustee Newman.
Well, like my other board members, I have not been able to go to any meetings, but or attend any events. But I just want to say thank you to our staff and Superintendent Noguchi for coming up with a plan for our graduates. Hopefully we can still work towards an in-person graduation, but this is a great way to start with a virtual graduation and honoring those amazing class of 2020. I just want to let you guys know, the rest of the board members, that we've had some exciting admissions this year, and I know that we're going to get a report out on that as soon as we get the final tallies in. But we've got some Ivy League admissions in this class, and it's really exciting to see the great opportunities that are ahead for our students, and that we've been able to provide that springboard for them. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Trustee Walker.
Okay, like everybody else, can't get out a lot right now, so we're sort of in the house. But I did have one announcement that I thought would be important to make to my fellow board members in the community. After a lot of thought, prayer, reflection with my family, I have decided that this will be I will not be running for re-election in 2020 to serve a second term. I'm going to happily go back to being a father and a husband and figure out what the next stage brings. But I thought it was really important to let my fellow board members know and the community know that it's been a wild ride. We've achieved some amazing things, but I think it's time to do a little recharge and spend some time with the family and let somebody else pick up the baton to work with this incredible team that I've had the honor to work with over the last 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you for letting us know. It does help knowing what's happening, so appreciate that. And glad you got a chance to also retire.
Yeah, I did that as well. There's a lot of change here, but I think it goes hand in hand to just being home again and not being on the road and not being all over the place. And I think, what was it, somebody told me originally when I first got elected, they said, don't make yourself a political widow of your wife. And I think being gone a lot, it weighs on you. And I think it's just time to sort of get back to focusing on the house and the kids and the wife.
Yeah, good. Put those priorities. Vice President West.
I also viewed the same program that Trustee Brown viewed, and I thought it was really encouraging how everyone's working together. I see our community, our district schools, all of our the county schools are all working together, and so I appreciate that. And boy, we're going to miss you, Trustee Walker, and we're heading into times that are really scary. I still consider myself a fairly new board member, and I'm hopeful that as we go through this next year, that we're able to, all of us, work together as a team, because the students have to come first. And so I'm hopeful that the parents and the teachers and all of our classified staff and everyone at the district office and all of the board members can just focus on doing the best we can for our students. And I think if we can do that, we're going to survive this together. So I wish you the best of luck.
Well said. Thank you, Vice President West. And now my turn. I also was able to view a portion of that and saw your little logins, at least that you were on. So that was kind of great to see that. So I appreciated the superintendent being able to put out some messages with our county superintendent, Kristen Olson, and along with Scott Kuykendall, our county superintendent, on education that night. So that was really helpful. I've had some Zoom meetings. So I've had 2 Zoom meetings since our last one with the delegates from Region 8 and Region 9 down south. But they've joined us because they don't have a PACER, which is the person who does the political action and government for CSBA. And so on one of our meetings, we met with Senator Galgiani's office staff and then also with Assemblyman Heath Flora. And our goal is to build relationships with them so that in the future, on the items that we have that we struggle with, for just anything like what's happening right now, we can share with them what exactly we'd like them to know. And so that was a really helpful meeting for all of us, just to be able to share our ideas and concerns about the Wi-Fi in rural areas, which is not the same for some of the cities, and then also share some of our concerns about the budget and negotiations and the things that we're all going through right now together as school board members around the state, but especially the Central Valley and what that would mean for the future. So that was a really helpful meeting. And then we've also been sharing, some of the good things that are happening and how we're doing our graduations. And that was on another call just with the delegates. And so hearing about the virtual graduations, the postponement of some are doing it in the fall or at Christmas break. So they have really all around different in the Central Valley and what some of the school districts are planning to do. So it's helpful that we're getting the message out to our families on exactly what we're going to plan to do. So thank you. Thank you all for sharing and giving some of your comments and what's happening. Now we're moving on to, and I see that Arnav has joined us, I believe. So I'm glad to have you on with us. So just so the other board members can know that as well. So welcome, Arnav.
Hello.
Hi. Good to
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
Good to see you all.
Yes, good to see you. Have you on. And now we're going on to our recognitions. And I'm going to turn it over to Krista Noonan.
Hi there. So I'm excited to do the recognition. I'm always excited to do the recognitions, but tonight we have a special video that's been compiled. I received photos from actually all of the principals in order to recognize teachers. And this week is actually Teacher Appreciation Week. It's May 4th through the 8th. And that's on a national basis. And then in the state of California, we actually have the state legislature many years ago set up the Day of the Teacher, which you have a proclamation for that as part of tonight's agenda as well. And that's next Wednesday, May 13th. So what I'd like to do right now is we have a little over 1,700 teachers in the district, and I know they have stretched tremendously in order to accommodate distance learning. I love all the collages and the videos that everyone is putting together. You're going to see some of them as part of tonight's video too. But I think it's really a time to recognize them and let them know that we appreciate them every day, not just today, not just this week, but they're always appreciated for the hard work that they're doing. So let's go ahead and show the video, and the IT department, I believe, has it queued up. So I'm going to mute. Thank you. So thank you for allowing me to feature them. I know it was 4 minutes and there were many other photos, but I really do think that that is a time for us to recognize our amazing teachers, and I appreciate the board giving us that time to do that.
That was great. It was so fun to see all those teachers and just be able to appreciate them in this way and see so many at one time. So that was awesome. Thank you for that great collage.
Sure, you're welcome. Thank you.
And now we'll move on to the student representative plaque presentation. And I cannot see Arnav, I don't know, but I know he can see me. And I have a plaque for you, Arnav.
Hello.
And, hello. Oh, I can see you. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I wanted to present to you this plaque and just to remember your year with us, and then also just to thank you for the time that you had on our board with us. I got to be on the selection committee last year to hear your great interview, and while you answered your questions, you've been an exemplary board member, student representative for the students, and you kept yourself very busy this year before we went onto this little short hiatus from school in a different way than we ever planned on and ever would have known from the beginning of the year. But I just want to thank you for your student perspective, sharing your ideas and thoughts with us, and all the plans that you have for the future and how you're doing. And so I just want to I'll read this to you. It says, recognition for outstanding service to Modesto City Schools to the Board of Education and for helping to foster and maintain positive and clear communication between the Board of Education and district students. This award is presented to Arnav Krishnamurthy, student representative to the Board of Education 2019-20 by the board members and district staff. So I handed it to you in person here together, but we just want to thank you, Arnav, for your time on this board. And yes, I saw some board members clapping. So we just right now too, so we just appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. If I could say a couple words really quick, because the student rep position has really meant a lot to me. I've held various leadership positions throughout since elementary school and up until high school, but this has really been something special. Being able to talk to not just my high school, the school I attend, but all the schools in the entire district, and then relay it back to you board members. It's been really something, like it's been an invaluable opportunity. And I've learned a lot from it. I've gained some knowledge from all of you. So it's really been special, and it's sad that, I'm coming to the end of my position, but I've had a great time, and I want to thank you all again so much, really. So thank you.
Yes, yes. So what are your future plans?
Right now I'm chilling at home, but I don't even know when calls start up for me if I can, attend campus in person, but I'll attend Stanford in the fall, hopefully, and then go from there. I'm majoring in astrophysics, so I'm looking.
Cool. That's great. We're excited.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Well,
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Yeah.
It's been great to serve with you. Any board members wish to comment? Okay. All right, so I'll go down the line, I guess, and then I know there's a couple of you. I heard Trustee, Vice President West. We'll start with Vice President West.
Arnav, I just wanted to thank you for your insight and input and your optimism and the way you brought all of the high schools together. I appreciated everything that you talked about, and I was really hoping to be able to do the Tournament of Talent this year. Unfortunately, I missed that, but you made it sound great, and I just appreciate your dedication for helping serve on the school board. I appreciate it, and I wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let's see, I heard another board member.
John
Irvin, Trustee Irvin.
Yes, Arnav. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate your insight, your knowledge, your dedication, and your commitment to not only your education, but the education of all students. I mean, you represented all students. You're a leadership student. You're a student that stands out but you represented all students, regardless of what walk they come from, how well they do in school or outside of school. You was their bona fide representative. So with that, I really appreciate getting to know you, your insight, your knowledge, your commitment, your enthusiasm. It's going to do you well in the future as well. But I know the students of Modesto, you were their representative for this year. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Chair.
Was there another trustee that I heard?
Yes,
I'd like to say so. There's a couple of you. Okay, so we'll go with, I heard trustee Newman. I heard that voice, and I heard another voice, but I couldn't quite pick it out.
Thank you, President Marks. I think we also heard Trustee Brown, and so after me, you probably want to go to him. But I just wanted to thank Arnav for spearheading the anti-vaping campaign. I think that was a student-driven idea, and you went with it, and I think that was great. It was not something that you could finish in 1 year, but I think it's something that we need to really listen to the students, and it's a major health issue for our students and a major concern for our students, and I appreciate that. I wish you the best of luck at Stanford. I know you'll do well. I've known that for years. You're going to do great things. So remember us and say hello to us when you are in space someday, circling the globe.
Will do. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take care.
Great. That's great. Trustee Brown.
Yes, Arnav, it's been fun bumping elbows with you at the dais, and been great serving alongside you. And one thing that I would like to recognize is your focus throughout the year of student service and things that you've encouraged be done to serve the community and serve other students' needs. And so I've been really impressed, and I am right with you with the dreams that you have envisioned, many that have gone the way of lots of senior hopes and dreams. They will be there to hopefully guide future students in your position. And yes, I wish you the very best at Stanford. Things are going to be brighter as you're able to get your start there, and good luck in your future.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot from just sitting next to you at the meeting. So again, you've been a great help.
All right, so can I go now?
Yes, Trustee Walker.
Everybody's gone. I would just like to appreciate all the work you've done. I think Trustee Newman brought up the vaping thing, and I think I was working with parents in Wake County, North Carolina for a good part of last year with their school board issues, and even they picked up on it and were sending me messages about what you were doing there. I think Stanford will be a blast. Although I am retired now, I am still maintaining a relationship with NASA and education and my former employer, so when you're ready to go do that moonshot thing, holler back, because I'm contacts down there. And then you're the one student board member who was with us when we got the one thing I was trying to get done, which was address math. With every single student member, we got it across the finish line this year. And I think that's a big deal for both me and you, because we both see what's going on there. And I think that's where the victory lap, and I wish you the best.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Trustee Walker.
Trustee Lopez.
Yes, well, Arnav, I just want to congratulate you on Stanford. Great success out there. Thank you for being. A lot of times, we have great individuals in our boardroom, but I think that you went above and beyond this year to really be a part of one of the 7 or the 8 on the board. So thank you for bringing your insight. I know a lot of times we went to you to defer for the students, but you were always neutral and impartial, and really thought about how to represent students. So I really appreciate that, and likewise, you learn a lot from me right next to from such an amazing board member like Trustee Brown. So great success in life, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much, Trustee Lopez. It means a lot.
Yes, awesome. Your parents have to be extremely proud of you. You're an exceptional young man. I think
they're both recording. So.
Good job, parents. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so thank you, Arnav, and we'll get this back to you. We will put it in a plastic bag, and give it to you.
Thank you so much. That's perfect.
Yeah. All right, and now we'll move on to item A8, approval of the consent agenda. Superintendent, are there any comments from the public regarding anything on consent agenda?
There is not.
Okay, and I have one item to be moved off of consent, item F3. That's F as in Frank, and it is the exhibit that goes along with this. So if you find F3, and so I will entertain a motion to add F3 to the agenda, and then we'll talk about where to put it on the next agenda item. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Walker, seconded by Trustee Irvin, and to approve the consent agenda with F3 being moved off for discussion. So we will do a roll call vote. Trustee Brown?
Aye.
Trustee Irvin?
Aye.
Trustee Lopez?
Aye.
Trustee Newman?
Aye.
Trustee Walker?
Aye.
Vice President West?
Aye.
Student Representative Arnott, we got you on the roll call, Arnott. Can you unmute? Are you still there, Arnott? Well, I don't see him unmuting. So, okay, then, if you can, come back on later, we'll find out. So, and then President Marks, aye. So it passes with a unanimous vote. Moving on to item A9, approval of the order of discussion action items. So this would probably fit the best right after the item that it goes with, which is B5. So we'd make it B5A. So that'll be F3 will be B5A. If that's amiable to the board, do I have a motion for that?
Could it potentially go B5B, so it's sort of after the board policy?
Oh, all right, you're right. Okay,
Does that make
B5.
sense?
Okay, we'll make the other one B5A, then this will be B5B. Okay, all
And then
right.
so moved.
And I'll second.
All right, it's been moved by Trustee Walker, seconded by Vice President West. And we'll do it.
Trustee Newman.
Oh, sorry, Trustee Newman. I'm going to turn my volume up. I turned it down for some of the videos so they wouldn't cause a problem. Okay, so we'll go down the roll call. So that's been a motion by Trustee Walker, seconded by Trustee Newman. Roll call. Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Irvin.
Aye.
Trustee Lopez.
Aye.
Trustee Lopez votes aye. Trustee Newman.
Aye.
Trustee Walker.
Aye.
Vice President West.
Aye.
Do we have Student Rep Arnoff? No. Okay. Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Arnoff, we're voting on the discussion action items. How do you vote on moving one item onto the agenda after item B5?
Yes, aye. I do.
Okay. Student Representative Arnoff votes aye, and President Marks votes aye. So it passes unanimously with the students' vote. And then now we will move on to item A10, the period for public comment presentation. Are there any comments from the public for the public presentation portion, Superintendent Noguchi?
Yes, I'm going to turn this over to Krista Newman.
Okay.
Hi there, I'm back. So there are 3 public comments, and bear with me, one of them is a little lengthy, so I'm going to read through it. It is from Dr. Dave Minshew. He's a CTE teacher at Enoch High School. Here is his comment. Dear members of the board, Superintendent Noguchi, and cabinet members, thank you for allowing me this time to speak to you. My name is Dr. Dave Minshew, and I am a teacher in the Enoch High School Forensic Biotech Academy. This month at Enoch High, as with all schools in our district, another group of students will successfully complete their high school educations. While we will graduate another outstanding class of learners who have taken advantage of the opportunities this district has offered them, we believe that there is a difference worth mentioning. This year, we will graduate students in arguably the most challenging environment since the program began in 2006. All of our approximately 60 grads will have completed 4 or more years of science in a state that requires 2 for a diploma. Next year's grads will further benefit from MCS board decisions to approve the change in our current curriculum and submit it for UC approval. As a result, all 3 of our academy courses are or will be shortly UC approved lab, and in parentheses D, with one now listed as, in quotes, honors course. This is huge and will position our graduates to compete favorably both with their knowledge and in their college applications. Special thank you to Rachel Barkus and Sarah Gordon for their stewardship in this complex process. Former Enoch High School science students have gone on to many colleges and universities. Some are working in science and some in other careers. Some are still working toward degrees from bachelor's to PhDs. Others serve in the military, often with distinction. Entities such as the American Association of University Women, Hitachi Corporation, Gallo Wines, Sierra Research Labs, UC Davis, UC Merced, SF City College, Ohlone College, UOP, American River College have supported Enoch Science Learning. Our students have given to the community through science education outreaches, teaching core science concepts at as many as 23 public science events yearly. My point is this: these accomplishments take place in an environment that was created by good board decisions to support science education in both good times and challenging times, when other districts have cut classes and raided grant funds. Modesto City Schools at all levels has helped to establish a special program that has been successful in providing quality science education. This happened because of the support that was led by the Modesto City Schools Board and then site principal Coates, now Principal Amanda Moore, Academy Coordinator Jennifer McKinney, as well as all of our many stakeholders in both the public and private sectors. Each member here and those that served before you were there for our students. We have seen board members support the Enoch High Forensic Biotech Academy program development through their votes, visitation, interest, oversight, and their advocacy for enhancing a student's science achievement. Without that, these advanced training opportunities would not have been possible. I thank you for your, in all caps, outstanding support of student science achievement. I am proud to be a part of this effort. That is the end of that comment. The next comment comes from Kristen Olson, a parent, and she says, I am submitting comment to request that the board please consider amending its resolution on grading for the spring 2020 semester to allow for pass or fail instead of making third quarter grades the semester grade. Pass or fail would be a better option for many students because it would simply take the spring 2020 semester out of GPA calculations. At the end of third quarter, many teachers put in new grades on the last day based on tests or homework that may have been done that week. For some students, their grades were suddenly lowered due to not doing well on a test or assignment. They didn't have an opportunity to fix it and improve their grades because the schools closed. While schools are saying that students can raise their grades to improve upon third quarter, my daughter and I aren't finding that to be realistic. The fairest way to handle the situation for all students would be to apply pass/fail to this current semester's grades so that the semester neither hurts nor helps a student's GPA. I realize that many AP and IB students probably want their third quarter grade to be their fourth quarter grade, and I assume that is why Turlock Unified gave the either or option. For others, if their third quarter grade is made their semester grade, it could hurt their GPA and ability to compete for college admission. Please help students and parents by considering an amendment to the resolution from last week to allow for pass or fail grades. Thank you. And the last comment came over the phone from Audra Black. She's a parent. She says, hi, my name is Audra Black, and the question I have for Modesto City Schools is, what is Modesto City Schools doing to sanitize the schools, to prepare the schools for the children coming back in the fall? What action or what plan does Modesto City Schools have to sanitize all of the schools so that when the kids come back to the schools, that the schools are safe and sanitized? I know that nobody's at the schools now except for the maintenance, but I need to know, just for my own personal reason, what are the schools doing to sanitize the schools while the kids are absent? Thank you. And that concludes all of the public comments that were submitted.
Thank you for reading through those for us so that we're all informed and heard from the public. Now we will go on to our discussion action items. B1 is our student representative Arnav's report. Arnav, do you have anything you'd like to report?
Yes, I actually do have a couple things to say. One, kind of in response to what Trustee West was talking about turnover of talent. Working with Ms. Hinkle and some others on, like I mentioned in the last board meeting, making turnover of talent digital. And we actually have progress. We have, so the premise of it is we're going to have the acts from each of the high schools record their performances, and then we're going to have someone edit it into one big video with even MCs like talking about each act. So there's a fluid transition. We're trying to make it as like realistic as possible, as if you were there, but you can just watch it. So families across the district can watch everyone perform. So no one's really missing out, and there's going to be judges, and it's just going to be like normal, just video, but we're making it happen. So that's really good. So I wanted to talk about that.
That's awesome. Thank you. That sounds cool. So I don't have a way to ask without going down the line, but are there any comments that board members might like to make on Arnav's item?
Quick question.
Yeah, okay, yeah. What's up?
All right.
This is Trustee Brown. Arnav, do we have a proposed date for the event yet?
I don't think so. No, we don't.
Stay tuned, huh?
Yes. Unless I totally missed that detail, but I don't think so.
Trustee Brown.
Oh, what's up?
This is Krista. I believe that we're shooting for in a couple of weeks. So at the latest, I think around May 20th, but we're still working with the teachers and all of the sites. But we'll definitely keep the board apprised as to where that goes.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. Are there any other questions? No more questions? Okay. So we're going to move on to item B2, report on facilities, summer work, Mr. Zerley. And he's going to control the screen, I believe. Okay, just check one check. And so, Mr. Zerley, you are up.
Thank you, President Marks, Board of Trustees. Good evening. Let me get this slideshow ready to go real quick. And can you see that?
Yes, yes, I can see that.
I just want to give a quick thanks to Anthony Luna in the technology department. This is he gave me a crash course on how to take over the meeting and show my screen. So thank you, Anthony, for making this possible. Tonight, I'm excited to talk to the board and those that are from the community and staff on the meeting to update and highlight our 2020 summer project plans. And those plans will be a combination of bond authorization. It's $74 million for Measure D and $57 million for Measure E. Our first bond sale was completed on May 8th of 2019, and the proceeds were received on May 29th, 2019. $16 million for Measure D and $11 million for Measure E. And these are the dollars we're currently working off of when we're talking about our projects that we have not only completed but also planning The construction program began on June 3rd, 2019. For these measures, that would involve 22 K-6 schools and 4 7-8 school sites. To date, as of today, we've spent or encumbered $16.8 million of the initial $27 million that we had received on May 29th. So we're better than halfway spent or encumbered on the first series of bond proceeds. For those that want to follow along and to increase our accountability and transparency, please visit our website for any updates and progress on bond measures, and you can see that listed here and what that looks like. This is just a summary of the first series of bonds. It was the first bond sale for our district in 17 years. We received a very high credit rating of AA2. At the time, we had a very favorable interest rate environment, and in so doing, we saved the district taxpayers $3.3 million in future interest costs because of the outstanding credit rating of the district and also the favorable interest rate environment at that time. With the first bond issuance, we told the board and the community we would be doing quick strike projects. We would hit all sites in the first 2 years. That would be projects for summer of 2019, projects for summer of 2020, and also creation of school site master plans, and then design for the projects that came out of the school site master plans for the summer of 2021. Types of quick strike projects under Measures D&E would be electronic marquees, security cameras, exterior paint, dry rot, siding, repair, replacement, all-call public address system, single points of entry, and parking lot pickup areas. We've completed these site master plans. We call them Phase 1. You can see at these 8 school sites listed, these were identified as our high priority sites because of various needs that were identified at these sites. We have completed these master plans, and we are working on design plans for work beginning summer of 2021, which would be our Phase 2 or our next series of bond issuance. Right now, and then throughout the summer, we will be completing our Phase 2 master plans at these sites that are listed on the left of the screen: Henshaw Middle School, Mark Twain Junior High, Kirshen Elementary, Roosevelt Junior High, Beard, Burbank, Loma Junior High, Robertson Road, and Wilson. On the right side of the screen, you can see what's included in the site master plan in the discussions: parking, pickup, drop-off, controlled entry points, classroom replacements, cafeteria, and main office relocation. And going back to the first phase, the ones that are completed, they had at least one, if not all of those items on the far right, which is why they were identified as the highest priority and wanted to get those master plans completed first. So for this summer, continuing the bond projects, we are going to be completing 6 more school sites for exterior paint, dry rot repair. Those sites are Bret Hart, Fairview, Kirshen, Martone, and Wilson. We will be installing 4 new playground structures, replacing the existing ones at Robertson Road, Fremont, Burbank, and Martone. We will be doing 9 single access points of entry. Those will be done at Lakewood, Sonoma, Muir, Fremont, Burbank, Franklin, Mark Twain, Roosevelt, and Shackelford. And then the previously mentioned 9 school site master plans that will be utilized for future additions and renovations at those 9 school sites. We also have district funded projects. Thank you to the leadership of the board. They have continued to fund our facility maintenance projects. And so these dollars get transferred into an account, a fund specifically for facility improvements to be used at our other sites that are not covered, as mentioned before, by bond measures D&E. And you can see the list of projects here that we're doing this summer. Bayer JROTC construction that will be going on to create the JROTC program at Bayer. Transportation bus lift replacement. We need to replace our bus lifts at the transportation shop in order to adequately maintain and repair the fleet of our school buses. Mark Twain corridor improvements, window replacement, ADA restroom upgrades. These are items that were not as a result of the fire at Mark Twain, but they came from out of the fire. So when we took our plans to DSA to make our fire repairs, these are items that came up as needing to be completed as well. So these are not fire due to the fire, but they are as a result of the fire and improvements that are now being made at Mark Twain. Exterior paint projects at Elliott and Bayer, and also the district office in Pearson. Davis Cafeteria is getting their serving area modernized, much like Modesto High School last summer. This year we're moving on to Davis High School, and they will be getting a much needed modernization in their cafeteria, their serving area. And then asphalt seal and or repair replacement projects at Elliott, Downey, El Vista, and Robertson Road. If you recall, Robertson Road last summer got their new parking lot, their new paving project done, and then now we're going to be sealing that asphalt in order for it to last longer throughout the years. And with that, I'll turn it over to any questions that the board may have.
Okay, so I'm going to try something because we've got an echo. So there, we're going to try this. So let me know if you can hear me. I'm going to go ahead and ask a question and see if there's any questions from Vice President West. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. I wanted to thank you, Mr. Zerley, for the incredible work that you and your team have been doing. These projects are huge, and I can imagine how much work and planning has gone into this. I know as I've driven by the sites, I'm encouraged to see the beautification, things that we can see on the outside. I know a lot is going on for things probably that we can't see as well, but I just want to thank you and everyone that's been working on this for not only doing a really professional job, but also for being good stewards of our funds. I think you guys are being really careful with the money that we have, and I want to tell you that I really appreciate that.
Thank you. And if I may add,
We'll go on to Trustee Urban. No.
I think Mr. Zerley was going to say something.
President Marks. I just wanted to respond real quick. I had it in my notes and I didn't do it. Thank you, Trustee West, for reminding me to recognize the work of Senior Directors Roger Orth and Dwayne Wolterstorff, who spend the entire year planning for these projects and also implementing these projects. And also Trustee Brown, who participates in our monthly planning meetings as well and provides leadership as a Board of Trustee and then back to the board. So I did not. Thank you for reminding me of that in your comments to recognize those that are actually responsible for doing the work.
That's great. Trustee Urban, are you there? Do you have any questions?
No, not at this time. Don't have any.
Okay. Moving on to Trustee Brown.
Well, a presentation like this makes me want to get up on the rooftop and start dancing. I look at what we're able to accomplish this summer, and my thanks goes to all the great people in the district for making this happen and having the foresight to plan and be ready. But I also think that we need to thank the public right now. There could not have been better timing for us to pass our bond measures. When you look at where we sit right now, I look at the great opportunity that we have for savings as we move into an economically challenged time. We will be able to get the best bang for our buck because we're ready with the funds to spend on projects that are desperately needed, and we have people who will be desperately looking for work that we will provide. And then I also want to just recognize how fortunate we are that the district was so well poised to accomplish such great things at an unprecedented time when we don't have students on our campuses. And I want to compliment everyone for really jumping on the bandwagon and making the best use of this tragic time that we're facing so that our schools can best meet the needs of all of our students. And then the last thing I wanted to just mention, and gosh, this was questions, but I'm not asking questions. I just want to recognize and make sure the public is aware of how well this timing has worked for them as well, because we've seen great savings already in what was projected as our expenses and what we see as savings, which actually saves the general public on their taxes. So Tim, I don't know if you can make a comment related to that.
Yeah, thank you. And there was a slide in there already where we've been able to save on interest costs. That those dollars go right to the taxpayer when the economic climate is such that our issuance costs are less than what we had stated in our bond in the bond campaign. And so we already have, and each time we issue a series of bonds, we hope to again show the community that we are being good stewards with the dollars. We have a good plan, and we're utilizing the dollars we've been graciously given through the bond measures to the benefit of our community.
That's great. Yes, thank you. That 3.3 million, that was pretty hefty savings there. I saw that in your slide, and you said it on that. So now we're going to move to Student Representative Arnav. Arnav, do you have any questions?
I think they've been answered at this time, so I think I'm good.
Okay, didn't know. We have you on the list now, so
Yeah.
great. Okay, Trustee Lopez.
No questions at the time.
Okay, Trustee Newman.
Actually, I did have a question for Mr. Zierli. Given the fact that students are not in our campuses right now, have we been able to push up the timeline of any of our summer projects?
No, we have not, because we still have the same timelines that we have in place as far as design, and then asking for the board's authorization to bid the projects, go through the bid process, and then issue the construction contract. So when 8 weeks ago, when this pandemic hit us, we had already had our schedules in place for how we were going to bid our projects and advertise for our projects, and it really wasn't conducive to push that up at all. However, I would like to comment to the public comment that we had regarding sanitizing. We have used this time without students, without staff, to sanitize our classrooms, our facilities, and we will be doing that again in advance of welcoming the students back in August. So, but no, we have not been able to move up our construction schedule just because of the pre-built timing requirements that we have.
What about the painting? Some of the painting, some of that's done by our own staff, I know.
Any painting, yes, that we can do, obviously, work orders, work, there's some work being done at the district office that our workers have been able to do. Yes, we have been able to get into our facilities much sooner than June 2nd or 3rd, whenever school was out, and do the work that we could do. I was referring to the contract work, the construction contracts that require a certain type of lead time to do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Trustee Walker?
Okay, let's see. Everybody sort of got some of my things. I thought, comment-wise, I'm really happy to hear Davis is on the list for the cafeteria upgrade, because I just think it goes back to sort of things we've talked about as a board, that our schools at the high school level that really needed some work were sort of the Davis, Johansson, Downey area, and so it's good to see that made it up into the queue. Trustee Brown mentioned the pricing points. I think that's interesting. because we really were in a fairly high growth market model. And it'll be interesting to see where we end up price point on some of these things that were looking very expensive on sort of these extra costs for man, labor, hours, because of the demand out there. I think those are all positives. The question I have is, when we got down to the end, you were talking about concrete work. And so over the last 3 or 4 years, we talked about pavement, and concrete, and recoverings. We've done a lot of that. How close are we to getting to a point where, with our 34, 35 sites, to a point where we can just maintain slurry coats, which saves us a lot of money long term? Because some of that you end up with crocodile pavement that really needs to be replaced, which is much more exponentially expensive. But I would think over the years now, we got to be getting pretty close to just a slurry coat, if that makes sense as a question.
It makes absolute sense, and I believe our expert, Roger Orth, is part here. Roger, if you can hear me, if you can comment on that, maybe?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So yes, these slurry projects you see this summer and last summer are part of our 50-year slurry plan to where we are now going to be slurry sealing all of our campuses on an 8-year interval. We have the 10-year paint exterior plan. We also have an 8-year slurry plan. So yes, we are definitely on track now to have ongoing maintenance at our schools in that area.
Thank you. That's exactly sort of what I was looking for, because the paint was the other option. And the idea that if we keep a good coat of paint on a building, it keeps the wood and the surfaces longer life. And once you sort of get it rolling, it gets much cheaper and easier to maintain. Concrete's very similar, so a good parallel, and thank you for the answer.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. And Mr. Zerley. Well, I don't have any questions. I'm just going to make a comment that I can't wait to see all of these in the fall, and I'm looking forward to it, just like we did that bus tour. I don't know if we're going to do that again, but I loved for the public, the members of the public, the leaders, to be able to see our campuses and what we were doing and how we were spending the hard-earned taxpayer money on these bonds, and just to give them an encouraging look at our schools and where we're at and what we're doing. So I look forward to seeing that. I loved it last year. So
it may need to be a virtual tour. We don't know what late July or early August will look like, but definitely we will highlight and showcase the work that the leadership of the board has allowed us to do for our schools, and whether that's virtual or we all can get on a bus and keep our distance from each other, who knows what that'll look like. But we will definitely do that again at the end of the summer.
I know. I was just remembering the bus being so fun to get on with a bunch of different people, and it brought back good memories of as a child riding the bus to school. So that was fun. And now, thank you so much. I don't know. I don't have any more. Dr. Noguchi, are there any comments from the public?
There is not.
Okay, thank you. And now, thank you, Mr. Zerley. That was great.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. And now we have a report on B3 on Schoolology and parent resources. So Ms. Noonan and Mr. Rich have this item.
Hi there, this is Krista again, and yes, Mike Rich is going to be my partner in this presentation. So what you're seeing is Mike's screen that's projected. So I hope you can all see that. This is the Modesto City Schools website homepage, and what we're going to highlight today is some of our work with the distance learning, the online learning, and that's through a platform called Schoology. So Mike is going to click on the distance learning portion of the website. You'll see it's the top link. And what I'd like to highlight first is, so Schoology can be very overwhelming for some parents who haven't used it. So my staff, Mady Herrera and her team, they put together this really great guide, and it's a video that's linked right at the top of the page that talks you through it, especially for those TK or the transitional kindergarten through 6th grade parents. It can be very overwhelming of what do I do next? How do I get online? And so Mady and her team did a wonderful job putting together screenshots, telling you when you get to this point, this is what you're going to see. They also have a portion of the video that talks to what each program is actually for. And then I also want to show you on the right side of the page, you don't have to click on these, Mike, but on the right side of the page, there's instructions for the parents, and they're in a variety of languages. But speaking of languages, on the left side of the page, there's website translation tips. And Mike is going to click on that. And as you can see, we've gone through a variety of the different languages that are the top languages of the based on percentage of students who speak those. And it offers you tips on how to change your browser to be able to accommodate the language of origin or the language of choice. So this is just an example of some of the tools that we've done, but this is a very high level example. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike now, and Mike is a senior director in our curriculum and instruction and professional development department, and he's going to actually show you what some of the students are seeing when they get into Schoology. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mike.
Thank you. You guys can hear me okay?
Yes.
So when students access Schoology, they'll either do it from their school homepage, but we can also do it from the district page. As they click on students, they'll see applications. Students are very familiar to this process. This is kind of our landing page for all applications that students are working with. And then here we have 3 different links depending on what grade span they're in. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the K-8 grade span. And the first thing it's going to have them do is ask them to log in. So we're going to experience this as a 3rd grade student, specifically my 3rd grade student. So as we log in, we're going to see what he would see as he does his work. Notice kind of a social media type feed. These are posts from, in this case, his principal or his teacher. These are items. This is one about our new call center and Russ's team on how students and parents can access tech help. So this is a nice feed. Most of what he would see if he's got upcoming events would be here on the right-hand side. So you see on May 8th, his teacher has a live session that she's inviting them to. To get to his course, so he would click on courses, and most of the K-6 schools are using their homeroom as the main course for distributing information. So if we click on his homeroom course, you can see that on the left are some different resources, but really down the middle of the page here, you can see the resources provided by the teacher. This particular teacher, Miss Elizondo, has done a great job of organizing. You can see her past weeks are in this folder structure, and her most current week is always up top, first thing they can see. She's also provided some great resources for a class album where parents can upload pictures, catching their kids doing work, either for school or baking or art. She's doing a great job of connecting them. Some other opportunities for kids. Hey, I'm bored. What can I work on? Just some general links they can do. But within the actual assignments for this week, you can see here she's got a discussion page where she's asked, in this case, today's May 4th, Star Wars Day. So if you could be a character for in Star Wars, what would you be and why? Really kind of help the kids thinking and writing, and she'll do this every week. You can see here with the English work to do, she's got a page, so the student would click on that. And here is a little explanation of what a biography is. And then on Monday and Tuesday, they need to read the biography on Dolores Huerta and then click down here and fill in the document. On Wednesday and Thursday, there's one on Benjamin Franklin. When they click on this document, it is a PDF document, but you'll notice that with this program we have called Cami, the students are allowed to draw a box, and they could start typing, and they could just type their answer right in this PDF. So my student happened to turn that in, I guess, today. I just noticed this. So notice he submitted an assignment. So we could go in and we could look at what he's typed. So this is the work that he must have done today after he read the Dolores Huerta life story and commented on what she's done. So you can see the students have the opportunity to not only interact with the curriculum, but provide feedback or provide work where the teacher can provide them feedback. You can see there's also some math work that they're working on. There's some PE ideas. So she's loaded a bunch of PE exercise videos that the kids can watch and work. I know my son's watched that dance remix several times. There's art opportunities. So all of these are are within this week. This week is the assignments that she's having them do, and you can see past weeks as well. A great opportunity to reach out to the kids. She's done a wonderful job of providing content for them. In the 912 environment, I'm going to click on that. I'm going to show you, I think teachers organize their work a little bit different. So I'm going to log in as a 912 student, particularly my son, who's a junior, who I didn't really tell him I was doing this. So let's see what we find. So he's at Davis. You can see here again that virtual feed. What comes up on his are things specific to him. So in this case, Miss Barrios is his counselor. She's posting items. Posting about Teacher Appreciation Week. You can see Miss Lombardo on National Anthem auditions. Mr. Gann's the college counselor. So you can see there's a lot of information within the feed. On the right-hand side, you can see his overdue items. That list seems preposterously too long for me as a parent, so we'll have that discussion when we get home. Within his courses, notice now he's got more courses here. So because he's in a structure where he's got different periods, you can see it's period 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Why don't we look at his calculus class? So the difference here would be these teachers have been using Schoology prior to the shutdown. So if we click on the spring semester, you can see in his calculus class, he's got multiple chapters of the book he's been working on. In fact, here's a test. We could click on this test and we can view how he did. He got 24 out of 28. We can click on that. We can see if you got the right answer. We can see if you got the wrong answer and what was the right answer. So we can review that and go over that as a family. You can back to the spring semester. Again, multiple chapters here of different work. You can see he's got his lectures written here. These are here's a lecture on slope fields, and it's the PowerPoint. So the kids have that they can go through and read and look at. This is the same PowerPoint he would have delivered in class. Some teachers are choosing to as well record those and post those. And then he's got some distance learning, these in this case, these are Nearpods that the students can walk through and read, particularly the AP test. I believe the calculus AP test happens in about a week. So he's got some review here. He's got past exams that are available for the student. If they wanted to, they could look at past FRQ questions or free response questions. He can work on those, and then also in that folder you'll see the scoring guide, so they can look at how would the AP test score that exam, how can he do better. See there the point structure that they have available, so that the student can learn that. So that's kind of a general tour of Schoology. It's you'll hear it referred to it as an LMS, or a learning management system, and it's kind of the hub that connects all the other resources and allows the teachers and students and staff to kind of have that one spot for all that information. So if you've got questions or concerns, I'm happy to answer any of those.
Okay. So do we have any questions from board members? I'm going to go down our list, and I'm going to start with Trustee Irvin. Are you there? Trustee Irvin? Okay, we'll come back to you. Trustee Brown?
Don't have any questions, but I'm sure glad it's your son preparing for an AP calculus exam and not me. I remember those days not too fondly.
That's funny. I know. Trustee Lopez?
Just one question in terms of the feed that goes up. Is it chronological, or is there a hierarchy of what goes to the top? And by the way, I think my favorite character would be Han Solo.
Yeah. So yeah, he's my son. You notice my third grader has changed his to the Mandalorian there. But so right here on the feed, you can see it listed as most recent. You can look at just updates. You can look at polls, but generally it is the most recent updates. And on the bottom, as you scroll down, you can see they can just keep looking at them. So if they miss something, they're always there for them to go back and see.
Great.
Any other questions, Mr. Lopez?
Nope. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Trustee Newman.
I had a question for Mr. Rich. If you want to just talk a little bit about the AP tests, just, so the board would know, and what our teachers are doing to help our students prepare. I think that's really important because it is on what you just talked about. Just if you kind of can brief the board briefly.
Yeah, so the College Board has decided to still continue to offer the AP exams, even though there's some social distancing and schools are out. So actually next week, the AP exams will be open. The students actually have 2 opportunities to take them. They will take them in their own home with their own computer or with their own phone. Most of them will be a single question test or exam. So a free response question that they have to either solve or write to and then submit through the program. They have 45 minutes to work on the test and in about 5 minutes to submit that through the portal. Actually, today, the College Board has opened up the testing portal for all students to go in and test to make sure their system works with it, to make sure that they know how to log in. There's a checklist of items that they need to make sure they have for each test, including a ticket number that will allow them to log into this specific test at the specific time. If they choose, because of this rare event, if they choose not to take the exam, there are some options there, but we really would encourage students to take the exams and take advantage of the learning that they've had up to this point. That the exams will not address content that would have been taught after February to accommodate that, and we're looking forward to starting that AP season.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Trustee Walker.
I don't have any questions. I think my comment is that I think it's I like the fact that we're on Schoology because my initial concerns in the beginning were with Zoom because it's not a very unhackable platform, which makes me sleep easier, and I appreciate that. And then I probably should have taken pictures of our distance learning now that I know this was here because we've been focusing on vocational work here. We've built fences, we've torn cars apart, now we're sewing. So maybe I should have taken some pictures. But otherwise, I think it's all going well. I think the resources are great. And I think especially for the younger students, to keep them busy and doing something and getting them engaged so we don't get that back slippage from not doing anything. And keep on trucking. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Walker. Back to Trustee West.
Mr. Rich, I want to thank you for showing us your son's Schoology pages there. I hope your sons are okay with that. I'm kind of a dinosaur when it comes to technology, so I had none of this when my children were going to school. I think it's amazing what parents can key in on their students and how this can help them be so involved in their students' education. I wish I'd had that when my children were growing up. I'm impressed with the teachers. Oh my gosh, the teachers are doing such a thorough job of giving these students activities to work on and challenging them. So I think that's amazing. Your presentation was awesome. You went really quickly for someone who's never seen this before. So there are parents probably out there who wish they could have some more thorough advice or teaching on how to go through this with their students. What kind of support do we offer for our parents to give them a little bit of training to help them navigate this system?
Let me jump back. Can you see my screen again?
Yes.
So this is from our district website. If you just click on Parents and Resources, on the left-hand side here, you'll see Schoology among other items. But within that is a parent guide, how to log in English and in Spanish, as well as student instructions, getting started, a video for parents to watch on our YouTube channel, and as well as how to access the mobile app on the three platforms it's available on.
That's
so again,
perfect.
that was just main website. We go to Parents, Resources, and then Schoology, again, among other things if they want to learn here. But this is a great resource page for parents in general.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And going back to what you just said, thank you again for translating into all the different languages. I think it's super important that we allow parents who don't speak English to have the opportunity to also be involved in their children's education as well. Thank you.
Trustee Irvin, we're back to you. Are you there now?
Yes, I was here just a little slow on the mute button, but that's all right. I really appreciate the presentation. I was just in awe that the level of intellect and our students have in navigating technology and using technology to enhance their education in this time of COVID-19. I just think about what if this would have happened back in the 90s, how we had to deal with it. But it's awesome to see that, we're ahead of the curve and we got students in third grade, navigating technology to get work done, to prepare and continue learning so that they don't experience any brain drain. So I really enjoyed the presentation. Would like to get to know more about it as I deal. My daughter, I watch her on hers. As she navigates her courses and her middle college course as well. And so it's just a real good sight to see. So thank you for the presentation, and I'm glad we're really innovating, adapting, and overcoming.
Thank you, Trustee Irvin. Student Rep Arnob, do you have any comments on this?
Yes, I would like to add about, first of all, Schoology's been really, I've echoed this before in previous meetings, but Schoology's been like easily the best technology we've adopted for distance learning. And in reference to AP tests, obviously AP tests this year are, they're different style and formatted, and they're open note this year. Circumstances, and teachers have been great, posting a lot of AP study material for the students to take advantage of. And this schools, I really reached out to people, and I've been wondering how those schools are doing for distance learning. In addition to this, I think a lot of people, because Schoology it's kind of like a social media site for schools, I would say, if you really get the hang of it, because a lot of teachers are posting really cool stuff. Last week I did one of my teachers posted a giant teacher appreciation form for all the teachers on campus. You could write cute messages for all the teachers, and anyone could take a part in it. So I think a lot of, I really do that. It's just like it really keeps everyone connected. It's not just like, okay, here's my 7 classes I'm in. This is the homework I'm getting. You're really connected with all the students and teachers. And there's a lot of great messages out there and posts that, keep you going during this difficult time. So yeah, it's been going great.
Thank you. I just want to thank Mr. Rich and all the staff for putting this together so quickly. I know we gave you a short time frame on this, and I just think it's awesome because I wanted parents and all of us to be able to see it and appreciate what you're doing to make this happen in our district for our students and our parents, so they can appreciate some of the things that they don't know are happening. So thank you so much, Mike, and for Dr. Nguchi and all those that worked so hard to put this in motion so we could see it tonight. So thank you. It's an awesome presentation, and just seeing you click through it. Thank your children too for being so transparent in allowing you to do that. Although I know you did get permission from all of them, but it's okay. So thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
So that concludes the reports, and now I will ask, because I am not able to get up and move around, and so it's about 7:30. Yes, it's 7:30, and so I'm going to ask for a 10-minute break. I want to check with the superintendent, make sure we can do that, and it's okay, and the staff.
Yes, I think that a 10-minute break probably is wise at this time, because we've been here for 2.5 hours, so I think that's great.
Okay, so we'll take a 10-minute break. We will resume at 7:40. So I don't know if staff can put a clock that we'll resume or something online that'll show that we'll be back at 7:40. That would be great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
did you do that? Welcome back. Let's see. Welcome back. We are on to item B4. Let me see if I can, and it is approval of revision of Passport to Literature list, grades 7 through 12, and Miss Newton will be doing this. Are you there?
Let me unmute myself. Can everybody hear me okay?
There we go. Thank you, Kim. Yes.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, good evening, President Marks, trustees, Dr. Noguchi, and Cabinet. I am Kim Newton, Senior Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Professional Development. The purpose of this presentation tonight is to request your approval on some additional supplemental instructional materials. So during my presentation, I would like to review the process to request that a book be placed on the Passport to Literacy list. I'd like to share the timeline with you, and also I'd like to explain how parents are notified and the options they have to request alternative assignments. The Passport to Literature is aligned with several of Modesto City Schools' strategic goals, including ensuring great instruction first time, increasing those students that are classified as prepared in the college and career indicators, increasing the proficiency of our English learners, and increasing regular two-way communication with stakeholders regarding important issues. So the process. Any 7th through 12th grade teacher from any content area may want to supplement the adopted curriculum in order to deepen or expand students' understanding on a particular topic. A teacher would complete the Passport to Literature recommendation form, and on that form, they need to cite the standard that the book will support, as well as explain the educational appropriateness of the book as it's related to the course. A committee of 7th through 12th grade department chairs from every school, 2 instructional coaches, and myself review the list to ensure that each book is read by 2 teachers that are not from the school that submitted the request. The committee then reconvenes to review the books and vote on a final recommendation, which is either that the book is recommended with annotations, or we do not recommend the book be added to the list. If a book does require an annotation, parents are notified with a letter at the beginning of the school year. The letter informs parents of the graphic material contained within the book and gives parents an option to request an alternative assignment for their student if they are not comfortable with the content in the book. This year, requests to add books for next school year were due in our office by October 31st. Teachers read the books between November and January. On January 27th, the department chairs met to review the book recommendations. And on February 18th, a board communication was written and the books were made available to board members for your review. There are 14 books this school year that we're recommending adding to the Passport to Literature list. There are 4 of them with asterisks, which indicates that those books we are recommending require an annotation. And so in accordance with Administrative Regulation 6161.11, we are asking that the board approve the additional books to the Passport to Literature list for the 2020-2021 school year. And I am available, as well as we have teachers on the phone through our instructional coach, Rachel Howenstein, to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, I will open this up to questions. So because this is an agenda item, this time we'll do questions and then we'll do comments. We'll do questions, then we'll do public comment if there are any, and then we'll go through for any additional comments that the board has, and then we'll vote. And we'll do that on the next 4 items since they're all board vote items. So on this one, are there any questions? And we'll start with Trustee Walker.
Oh, see, I moved to the top of the list.
You did.
Okay. I don't think I have as many questions on this, but as much as sort of the underlying process, because the example would be we get a list of things that are going to be in the reading material at the beginning of the year syllabus. And then at that point, you're supposed to review and decide what you're going to do or not as a parent. Well, at the beginning of the year, you get this monster stack of paperwork. And the odds that you're going through all of it and you understand what you're looking at is probably a reach. But we got to a point where we weren't particularly happy with the content of a book and wanted to switch out and look at a different assignment. But then we were told the only opportunity to do that would have been at the beginning of the year when we got the syllabus. That, as a parent, was, I thought, not really helpful. And we we got around it, but it wasn't comfortable, if that makes sense. And I don't know what that process would look like, but it sounds fairly similar to what we're talking about here, if I'm being coherent.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, Ms. Newton, do you have any comments on that?
So just to clarify, Trustee Walker, I think the concern is that the amount of paperwork coming home at the beginning of the year is pretty intense, and that maybe a recommendation might be to send the annotation as well as the parent option for an alternative assignment closer to the time as when the book is being reviewed in the classroom. Is that what I'm hearing?
Because I think what happened was you look at it and you go, okay, that looks fine. But it presumes that you as a parent have read these 15 books or these different passages. And it wasn't clear to us until we were sitting down reading it out loud as a family, just because that's what we were doing. And this was high school material. And it's hard to get me to blush, but it left me going, wow, this is a bit intense. And it left folks uncomfortable. But sort of getting back out of that and into something that was a bit more, what I thought, age appropriate, wasn't allowed, because at that point it was too late. And so, because you had mentioned finding an alternative assignment, we couldn't get into that lane because that option was over within a certain fixed time frame from when the syllabus went out. And I think any parent would tell you that at the beginning of the year, you're trying to digest all this stuff. It's a lot to intake, if that makes sense.
I understand. Let me look into this for you, Mr. Walker, and we can follow up with a board communication on that.
Sounds perfect. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Trustee Newman.
I don't have any question other than the one book, Know My Name. Is the teacher who wanted this on the call tonight, or do we know? I mean, it's it's a compelling topic. It's just we don't. In my recent memory, I don't have that we passed a memoir of a current event type book. So it's a little different genre.
I do believe that teacher is online with Rachel Howenstein to answer questions. Yes, she's not online with the board meeting. However, Rachel's got her on speakerphone.
Yes, this is Rachel Howenstein, and I do have the teacher available if you have a question.
My question was just, this is a little unusual for the genre of the type book because it's a memoir. We have two memoirs on the list tonight, but it's a memoir, and it's a kind of like a current event type memoir of something. We haven't had, in my recollection, that many of those. They're more different kinds of literature. So this is a different genre than we usually have. So I just wanted to ask about the teachers' thinking with regard to this and how it's going to be presented. If they're going to read the whole thing, there's also some issues on that.
Is she referring to Know My Name? Is that what she's referring to?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm also communicating with the teacher on my phone. So I just wanted to make sure she understood your question.
Yes.
Yeah, she's asking about the relevance of it. It deals with a sexual assault case. It's Know My Name. It just came out like a year or two ago. And I think it's especially relevant for seniors. We're expected to actually discuss sexual harassment in our conduct code book. Yet a lot of students, when they can actually go into a person's story of survival, I think speaks volumes to a lot of seniors. So yeah, a more sensitive topic, but it's something that I think seniors, especially as a lot of them get ready to go off to college, and being a memoir, we don't have a lot of memoirs on our passport list either. So I think if we really want to foster a love for learning for our students, we need to give them more choices and make the reading relevant to them too, and things that they can connect to.
And I agree the topic is very compelling and timely, and I don't have a problem with it. It's a little different genre in terms that it isn't a memoir of a current event that we've done before, and you're acknowledging that. So it's not about the relevance of it. It's just kind of, my question was,
so many seniors take ERWC also as well, and they're reading nonfiction in there, and they're reading essays and less of the literature based. So I'm trying to get them to where they're reading more current events and things that are happening in the world today. So I'm trying to really tie that in to a lot of kids that would be taking an ERWC class too.
Great.
Hi, this is Lauren Liddell. I just wanted to make sure that I addressed that to Ms. Newman, that although it's not necessarily one of our more common genres of literature, CDE, California Department of Ed, they do recommend that we continue to work through current events and culturally relevant pieces. So I think, and just like our teacher explained, I think coupled with that it is part of the 12th grade domain to have those conversations, it's often really difficult to have that in an abstract way. So I think that this book lends itself to help lead that conversation where it's not necessarily personal for the children to protect themselves, but they can identify and perhaps express themselves. So yes, it's not necessarily one of the more common genres, but in terms of including relevant pieces and culturally responsive pieces, CDE fully backs that up. So I think that we're in line with, we're not out of the ordinary for doing such a thing.
Great. That answers my question. Thank you. I noticed it was different than what we'd had before, and I thought, I probably just need to delve into this and just see, like, okay, where are we going on this? Because it sounds like it's direction from the CDE, and I think that's appropriate. And it's also a compelling topic. I don't have a problem with the list.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Moving on to Vice President West.
I have no questions.
Okay, Trustee Lopez.
I have no questions. I just would want to echo what Trustee Walker was saying of kind of giving that timeline as we're approaching that book, just so that folks aren't overwhelmed. But I also understand the time sensibility, how that might work out. But if we can get to a happy medium on that, that would be great, so that we allow books to be read through our schools that have relevant and important topics, but at the same time that we give parents ample time to make those decisions with their kids as well.
Trustee Irvin. Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
No questions.
Our student rep, Arnav.
Sorry, I was unmuting my mic. No questions as well.
Okay, thank you, Trustee. Trustee Brown?
Yes, I do have questions related to the alternate assignment. How readily available are alternate materials in the event that parents do choose to opt out? Is that something that's decided ahead of time? What other options are available?
So, Trustee Brown, this is Kim Newton, and Rachel, feel free to please add on to my comment. But absolutely, they're kind of pre-planned, as if you are presenting a book that does require an annotation, the teacher has thought through the process of if a parent would like an alternative assignment, and typically those students would read probably a different piece of literature. However, the work that would be completed would be very similar to what they're doing with the book in question.
And
correct. They would choose a different work that would address the same standard. Or skills.
So follow up to that question. I presume that there's a period of time where class discussions will be brought in about the material and the book. How much time does a student miss from actual class time if the parent has chosen that they opt out?
I cannot speak to experience on that one, so I'm going to defer to either Rachel or our teacher, Jennifer Hayes.
Have either of you had a parent or student opt out of a text?
I haven't, to be honest.
I have once.
So you have? Okay.
Phil, what can you speak to that?
Hi, this is Phil Schmidt. I'm a teacher over at Downey High, also on the call. I've only been teaching for 7 years now, but in 7 years, that's only happened one time. And it was a student at a resource class. So essentially, the student just opted to go to his resource class and read the alternative assignments that I'd prepared for him. The working question was the crucible, and the parent was convinced that I was teaching their child how to be a witch. And even though I explained that I wasn't, I still opted out of it. So yeah, they just had an alternative assignment in a resource class during the time that we were working on it in class.
This was some years ago. In my experience, I did have, there were students who opted out of the text that another teacher was teaching. And so for the time period, the students were moved into my class to read the novel that my students were reading. So in that case, I don't know that was a great solution, but the solution was to move them into a class where there was an alternate text being read.
Thank you.
This is Lauren again. I would just say that definitely that's a case-by-case scenario based off of what the needs and the concerns are of the parent, because the parent may be okay with the topic in general, but not a chapter or the whole book. So really, Mr. Brown, it really depends on what exactly does the parent have the concern over, and then I would expect the teacher and the site admin to work on the alternative plans accordingly. Again, it has happened to me as an English teacher. So, and actually I've had the same scenario as Rachel has, where I've taken a student from another class just for a few days as they got through a sensitive topic in another class. So it really is case by case, and it depends upon the concern the parent has. Again, maybe one chapter or maybe more. So we couldn't say, a blanket statement for how long they're out of that classroom per se.
Okay, so now it's my turn. So President Marks, I have a question. How are we informing the parents that do not speak English in our schools on these books?
The letters that we send home are in English and Spanish, President Marks. Mm-hmm. And so they go home with the parents at the beginning of the year. I'm sure the teachers review them at back to school night as well if parents are there, explaining any titles that require annotations, the content within those titles, and then there is a form where parents can request an alternative assignment.
Okay. Thank you. So now we go to public comment, and then we'll go back to any comments from the board. Dr. Noguchi, are there any comments from the public?
There are not.
Okay. So, and I will, so now I will go back and see if there's any additional comments from anyone. Trustee Walker?
Okay. One, I think to address Chad's question that he asked about opting out, I don't know what others' experiences are, but as a parent who does that, I will simply state that it's rarely a happy time. It's every time we've done that, it has been difficult at best. And then I find it interesting that the teacher mentioned The Crucible, because that was on the list this year, and it's not the book I was complaining about earlier, but it certainly led to warning signs that left us quite uncomfortable. And I think part of that ends up being the context it's being discussed within. It's just tricky stuff, but opting out is never easy. I've never found it easy. I don't know if that's because I'm a board member, but I had similar issues in junior high when I wasn't a board member. And so opting out is tricky. It's rarely pleasant, and I will leave it there.
Thank you, Trustee Walker. Trustee Newman?
I don't have any additional comments. I think that this is an interesting list, and there's a lot of compelling topics. I think that there. I hope that the students are going to be able to be in class to have these discussions, because I do think that the read that our teachers will have from watching the students' faces and engaging with this on a one-on-one is really important, because these are important topics to discuss. And so I certainly hope that we have the opportunity to have students in the classroom when these books and these important topics are discussed.
Okay, Trustee Vice President West. Thank you, Trustee Newman.
No comments. Thank you.
Trustee Lopez.
No comment.
Trustee Irvin.
No comment.
Student Rep Arnott.
No comment.
Trustee Brown.
Just one comment. I hope that the letters that go home to parents regarding these materials will not only ask if they're wanting to opt out, but encouraging the parents to be involved with the issues in discussions with their students, and possibly reading these type of books together, so that we don't take the parents out of the picture of important education on important topics.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. So I'm going to let you know my comments, and I wrestle with these books each time we do them. And so it's always a challenge for me personally, because I look at my job as an overseer in this position, and I want to make decisions that are best for all students and parents in how I do that. So as I go about that, I'm also thinking of the students that are the most vulnerable. So we already know that 1/3 of the children in our district have been molested. So with that in mind, we have a large number of parents who do not speak English, who may or may not read and write in their own language, and who will not have access to knowing what these books have in them. So if they've come from a very difficult situation from another country, which I have mentored refugees from other countries, I did that for 13 years. I know they struggle with a lot of different things, and when they're in one of these classes, they may or may not be able to express themselves in a way that will be helpful if they're struggling with this, because their parents will probably not know that they're reading a book that has this kind of content. For me, I have 3 books that I would like to remove from the list. I'm okay with all the rest of them. There were 3 books that I wanted to remove from the list because of the content that I believe might be emotionally damaging for some of our students that don't have an opportunity maybe to even speak with their parents about it, and may not feel comfortable talking with the teacher about it. So that with that said, the 3 books that I had were Know My Name, Glass Castle, and The Lion in Winter. They deal with sexual assault, sexual experimentation, and then of course the memoir on the Know My Name has to do with a going through the whole process of an emergency room and just being sexually assaulted and what that would mean. So, and I agree the topic is really helpful for students, and I know we have a program. We had a presentation from groups that came in, and they're working with students on campus in talking about those kinds of situations and how to have safe relationships. But in required reading in this area, I just, as an overseer for my own personal self, I feel very strongly that this is not a good place for these students to do this, since their parents wouldn't know about it, or many of them. So with that said, I will make a motion, and it will pass or fail based on what you all decide. But I would like to make a motion. That's rare that the president makes a motion, but since it's, I don't know if one of you would, I'm going to make a motion, and you're welcome to make other comments if you wish when I go down the line. And before we vote, I would like to make a motion to take off Know My Name, Glass Castle, and The Lion in Winter from this list. And so that's my motion. And do I have a second? So there's no second. So I will go ahead and the motion fails for a second. So go ahead and someone may make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve and let Trustee Brown sort of know as a side comment that we were reading the books together when we came across our issues. And I think that's a valid point. And that really is sort of how we got there, but I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, there's been a motion by Trustee Walker, seconded by Trustee Lopez. And we'll go down the roll call. Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Irvin.
Aye.
Trustee Lopez.
Aye.
Trustee Newman.
Aye.
Trustee Walker.
Aye.
Vice President West.
Aye.
And Student Rep Arnott.
Aye.
And Cindy Marks, President Marks votes no. So it passes 6-1 with 1 no. All right, so moving on to item B. Wait a second, I gotta get that back to my list here. Are we on B5? The parent notification, the board policy 5145-.6. Hang on, and I'll read the actual item. B6. Approval of first reading of proposed draft of board policy 5145.6, parent notification. And Becky Fortuna will be doing this item.
Good evening, President Marks, Vice President West, trustees, Superintendent Dr. Noguchi, and Cabinet. I'm here to present the proposed draft of Board Policy 5145.6, parental notifications. This is a new policy to MCS, and we did not make any changes to the gamut language. So it's recommended that the Board of Education approve the first reading of this proposed draft. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so are there any questions from board members? Wait a minute, I gotta get back to my list again. Sorry, the report, there we go. Trustee Irvin, do you have any questions on the first reading of this draft?
No, I don't.
Okay, Vice President West.
No questions.
Trustee Walker.
No questions. I'll come back in comments.
Okay, Student Rep Arnott.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Brown.
I have no question.
Trustee Newman.
I have no questions, thank you.
Trustee Lopez.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, and then I have a question on I know when we notify the parents in the receipt of this, it's on the bottom of the page. I just wanted to know if we have a way to do an electronic acceptance instead of a signature that they received the notification. I didn't like an email response. So it says the annual notification shall include a request that the parent or guardian sign the notice and return it to the school. If the notice is provided in an electronic format, that the parent or guardian submit a signed acknowledgement of receipt of the notice to the school.
We provide this notification in a hard copy, so a hard copy is expected in return.
Okay, all right. That was my only question. Okay, now for comments. Oh, Dr. Noguchi, is there any public comment on this?
No, there is not.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll go down the same list again. Trustee Irvin, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Vice President West, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Trustee Walker.
Yes, my comment is thank you, because I asked for this. This is the first agenda item I ever asked for 4.5 years ago. It has taken 4.5 years to get here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I had a list of about 20. I think almost all of them are taken care of, but this was the first thing I ever asked for was, can we get a parent notification policy updated? And here we are, better late than never. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Student Rep Arnav.
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Brown.
No comment. Thank you.
All right, Trustee Newman.
Just to address your point about electronic signature, I mean, basically, Ms. Fortuna's response was, we send it out in writing, we need to get it back in writing. So it would be unless it's, I mean, the gamut language is it required? John, you asked for this. Do you remember, or does any of our staff remember if this is required by law that it be in writing? Or is there a way to do it electronically as well? I mean, we'd like to make this easier for parents.
I think, Dave, my response would be there's a lot of it. It does need to be notified in writing, and we don't have a lawyer present. But the acknowledgement is actually very important, because if you look at it, there's time ranges on them. So some of these things have to be done at the beginning of the year, some of them at the time and point. And so if you look at the exhibit, I would argue the exhibit is bigger than the policy. If it's because it covers everything from pesticide to testing.
Okay. I mean, I just was thinking about ways of trying to make it easier for parents if that would be, but I think that we need to comply with the law, and at this point, Gamut recommends we put it in writing, so we probably should.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Okay. That's good. Thanks for the clarification. And Trustee Lopez.
No comment.
Okay.
Thanks.
And I just thank you for putting this together too. I remember when Trustee Walker asked for this, so it's great that we're able to do it and at least inform our parents. And so we're ready for a vote on this. So do I have a motion to pass this agenda item?
So moved.
Then moved by Trustee Walker, seconded by
West.
Vice President West. And we'll go down the roll call vote. Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Irvin.
Aye.
Trustee Lopez.
Aye.
Trustee Newman.
Sorry. Oops.
Did you say aye?
Like
I believe you said aye, but it's muted now. So we'll take, I thought I heard you say aye.
Aye. Yes, I did.
Okay, yes. Okay, Trustee Newman votes aye. Trustee, I have a hard time because I found out the cursor, you have to be on the left side of your box to do it. So kept sitting it on the right-hand side and kept wanting to copy it. Trustee Walker, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, sorry. Vice President West.
Aye.
Thank you. Student Rep Arnav.
Aye.
And President Marks votes aye. So motion passes 7-0 with the students voting aye. Now we'll do the item that goes with this is the exhibit. So it'll be item B5, it's F3. So we have to find that on our...
Yes, so again, this is the exhibit that goes along with the board policy. So it's exhibit 5145.6, parental notifications. We did make some edits to this exhibit. The edits go, you'll notice in the exhibit that it lists a number of board policies and administrative regulations. And any edits that we made were noting if we did not have a particular board policy, or if we had that board policy and it did not address the subject matter that was listed in the notification, or we needed to add a board policy or administrative regulation that does address the information that they're referencing. And I'm here for any questions.
Okay, so I'm going to go down the list and ask if there are any questions. I'm going to go ahead and use the same list I just used. And so we'll start with
Trustee Irvin. Do you have any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay, Vice President West.
No questions.
Trustee Walker.
No questions.
Student Rep Arnov.
Also, no questions.
Trustee Brown.
No question for me.
Trustee Newman.
No questions.
Trustee Lopez.
No questions. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my question in with the comment. So on page, wait a minute, H, E5145.6, wait a minute, yes, H. So it's at the top of the page. Let's see.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have our text helping with this today. So if Ted could bring up the exhibit, that'd be great.
Yep, Daniel's working on it. So he's going to pull up page H. So it'll be in the right-hand corner, H. Awesome. Okay, so my question is on this one, it's the on the when to notify was at the beginning of the school year, and as we discussed in the previous item or on the passport to literature, that some of that gets buried into the content gets buried into all of the papers that parents are going through. So this one has to do with sexual health and HIV prevention education, a right to view AV materials, whether taught by district staff or outside consultants, and right to request specific education code sections, right to excuse. So on this item, I wanted to see if we could add a notification of 7 days or 14 days prior to that specific teaching. Probably 14 days would be appropriate, because if you scroll down to item K, page K. Okay, wait a second here. Wait. I know, hang on. I'm trying to find my note that I wrote on it, on which item it said, because it had to do with speakers on this topic. Oh, wait, no, it's not. It's Q. Sorry. So on item Q, at the bottom of the page, it says when to notify. So on HIV prevention, it says at least 14 days before HIV prevention or sexual health instruction if arrangement was made for a speaker or guest speaker after the beginning of the school year. So that one has informing parents if there's a speaker change on that topic. But I would like to ask if we could have it so that the parents are informed 14 days before these topics are on page H. So I'm not asking to change the item on page Q, but I'm asking to change the item on H. So now that you know what my request is, I want to see if there's any comments on that. And so we'll go down the list and see if there's any comments on that. So Trustee Irvin, do you have any comments?
So I'm just trying to get clarity on what you're asking, President Parks, in terms of the at least 14 days, because it says 14 days.
No, actually, let's go back. You're right. That one does say that. So it's the previous item that I mentioned on H.
Okay.
So he's going to go back to item H. Whoops, go up. Yeah, scroll up here.
President Marks, may I suggest that if anyone has a question, rather than going through the whole list of everybody, just to chime in, and then we'll take in the order they come?
Okay, we'll try that. It was hard when I did it before, when we all, I couldn't tell who was trying to say what. So, okay, so we'll start with Trustee Irvin, and then if you'd like, we can see if anybody would like to chime in. It's easier in a room, but we'll do our best. Okay, so Trustee Irvin, it's item H, and I was asking to have, instead of at the beginning of each school year, to have it say what the Q said, 14 days before. we'll say at least 14 days, or it'd be good if it just said 14 days before HIV, or up to 14 days before HIV prevention. So it would just say.
I have a comment. So like I think that it would put too much. It would put at various points between 7th and 12th grade. There's going to be instruction on that. And I think that's going to put too much of a burden on our school sites to inform parents of that. I mean, this is only 7th through 12th grade, because they're getting it in various classes. So your 7th graders might be getting it in PE. They might be getting some of it in the science class or whatnot. But they're going to be getting it at various times and in various ways. And so I think that at the beginning of the year, hey, we're going to be talking about this. If you have a problem with it, then those parents that have a problem would then opt out at that time. I think that it puts too much of a burden if anytime 14 days, then it all has to be calendared out. It has to be done on a master calendar at each site. That gets really burdensome. And then we've got the time frame to opt out, then and what else the student does gets more complicated as well. So as much as I really want to keep parents informed, I think parents should be aware that in grades 7 through 12 that we're going to be talking to their students about this because it's their health and their safety that's an issue there. I think that if we bring in a speaker and it becomes more personal and it becomes more, a speaker comes in and talking about such things, say somebody that's suffering with something like that, then it's far more personal, far more emotional for our student. That's a different burden on our student and a different context in the educational framework. So I would think that a different notice needs to be provided. I agree with what Gamut has differentiated the situation here in the code. But I think that I would disagree with your request to change that notice requirement for that at the top. So that's back on page H. And I think that the policy as with regard to these two comments is appropriate as is.
Can I jump in here now?
Sure.
Yes, go ahead, Trustee Walker.
Okay, so there's sort of two pieces here. I think what Trustee Marks is looking for is consistency, but there's another piece of this. And I don't have the folks to do the research on it right now because of memory. You're actually required to notify, if a student comes into school after the beginning of the year, you really are required by law to notify those parents that sexual education is coming and it's going to be instructed within a certain time frame of days. I don't know if it's 7 or 14, but there is a legal requirement there. And if my memory serves me correct, and the superintendent can jump in here, that we're already doing what Trustee Marks is asking, is that when we go into 7th and 8th grade sort of sex ed, that we are notifying parents that it's coming. And so I think there's two pieces here. One is consistency, and the second is what happens if somebody gets enrolled and they don't get notified and they end up in the class, then where do we end up at by not doing the fail-safe? I don't particularly get all antsy about what we're doing now because I've reviewed all of our material, but I think if it gets replaced and it goes down the road that many districts have, which I believe is so far out of bounds, it's just mind-boggling that becomes more important. But I think it's more of what is the actual minimum legal requirement if the student comes in new, and whatever that is, pad it 3 days, versus what are we already doing that probably does that.
So Superintendent Deguchi, do you have any information on that?
I do not.
Okay, so are we okay if we find that out? Because if that's the case, then I can see that this wasn't needed, but I would like to have it in there. So I just want to ensure that our parents aren't caught off guard or don't feel like they were informed appropriately, especially with the changes in California and the sex ed changes that are coming. I just want to make sure that our parents are informed close to the time of the content of that parents might object to.
Maybe the answer is sort of bring the exhibit back at the next meeting and check on what that legal minimum requirement is. That will give us time to just go look it up. It can't be that difficult to go look at what that lead time is, whether it's 6, 7, 14 days when a new student comes in, and then just sort of bring it back. We're only looking at one piece of 34 pages, which is what I mentioned in the last agenda item. The exhibit is bigger than the policy.
Right.
But if we're only talking about sort of the one paragraph, let's get a bit of guidance, tune that up, and then we can bring it back and go 7-0.
Yes, after reading through all this, yes, it would be helpful. So Dr. Noguchi, would that be amiable to you? And
yeah, that's fine. So Ms. Fortuna, do you understand what we need to bring back to clarify for the board?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great.
Okay, so do we need a motion to move this to a future meeting, correct?
Motion to table this agenda item to a future meeting after clarification.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, then motion by trustee Walker, seconded by trustee Newman, and we go through the items. We'll go through the roll call again. Trustee Brown?
Aye.
This is to table it. Trustee Irvin?
Aye.
Trustee Lopez?
Aye.
Trustee Newman?
Aye.
Trustee Walker?
Aye.
Vice President West?
Aye.
Student Rep Arnab?
Aye.
President Marks? Aye. So we'll move this to the next meeting for May, or we'll ask the superintendent on what date she would prefer to have this come back to clarify. Thank you. And now moving on to item B6. Appointment of Assistant Superintendent, School Leadership, and approval of employment effective July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. And Mr. Henderson has this item.
All right, good evening, Board President Marks and trustees. Tonight, the board is asked to approve the offer of employment for Dr. Heather Contreras. Government Code Section 54953 states in pertinent part, quote, prior to taking final action, the legislative body shall orally report in a summary of the recommendation for final action on salaries, salary schedules, or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits of a local agency executive during the open meeting in which the final action is to be taken, end quote. So that's what this report is. The offer of employment appoints Dr. Contreras to the Assistant Superintendent School Leadership position commencing with the 2020 to 2021 school year. Dr. Contreras' compensation will not be increased until the district considers the state of California's 2020 to 21 Budget Act and the financial impact on the district. Any increase in compensation will be subject to board approval in open session at a subsequent board meeting. The offer of employment states that Dr. Contreras will work 222 days. She'll receive the same health and welfare benefits afforded to certificated management employees. That concludes the formal report as required, and it's recommended that the board approve the appointment of Assistant Superintendent, School Leadership, and employment effective July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2021.
Okay, so on this item, I will go down the list and ask if there are any questions. Well, I'll just try it. I'll try what Trustee Newman said. Does anyone have any questions? Hearing none, we'll go on to any comments. Does anyone have any comments?
Trustee Walker wants to say congratulations for the new position.
Okay, Trustee Walker had a comment. Anyone else have a comment? Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Henderson, on the salary and for the, I believe it's a title change only, so, or at least that it wasn't a change in the salary, but
correct, title and job description.
Yeah, title of job and job description. Okay, so I'm hearing that there aren't any more comments. So now we will go through roll call. I need a motion and a second. So who makes a motion to approve this? It's been moved by Trustee Brown, seconded by
Trustee Walker.
Trustee Walker. So we have a motion by Trustee Brown, seconded by Trustee Walker, and we'll go down the line. Trustee Brown?
Aye.
Trustee Irvin?
No.
Wait, Trustee Irvin, did you say no?
Huh?
How do you vote on this?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Okay, thank you. Trustee Irvin says aye. Trustee Lopez?
Aye.
Trustee Newman?
Aye.
Trustee Walker?
A very clean aye.
Vice President West?
Aye.
And President Marks votes aye. Since it's a job, we didn't have the student rep vote on it. So now we go to items to be placed on future board agenda. Are there any board members that wish to place an item? So we have one that we've already talked about tonight that will be moved to a future board agenda item. Are there any others? I have a question. Well, I should talk to the superintendent about this, but I will bring it up here. So Kristen Olson brought up the idea of doing a pass-fail as an option. Didn't sound like it was for sure but Turlock did an option. So I will talk to the superintendent and see if that's something that we should talk about as a board, as an amendment to ours, and if it's possible to. I will talk to her about that, but that was an idea that I had. Now we will go to a motion to close the meeting. Do you have a motion to close this meeting?
So moved.
Also move.
Okay, I'll take it from Vice President West made a motion to close the meeting and seconded by Trustee Walker. And I guess we could just close it. Is that correct? Do we have to go down the roll call? I don't think so.
Aye.
All right. So we'll just go aye. Thank you
Aye.
very much. You guys, it was great. I appreciate your time and all your attention. It was a little longer board meeting and had a lot more facets to it with videos and all the different items that we did tonight. So thank you for your patience. And I had a couple things. We had some technology stuff we were trying to work on. So thank you for your patience throughout tonight. Have a great weekend or week. Bye-bye. Thank you.